Hello, welcome to the book Harlots. I'm Eliza Mann.
AJ Norris.
And I'm Sage Spelling.
All right, this week we have a fantastic book. It's AJ's boo, John, and his relationship with Hex in L.O.V.E.U.4.E.V.E.R. I'm going to let you go ahead and read that, AJ.
Oh, you know what's funny is I picked the wrong book off the shelf. So.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It's the red cover, doll.
I know.
Get it. It's fine.
Okay.
That's because we drink.
We
drink
before
before
the okay. The only purebred. Oh, that's dark lever.
Tipsy.
Oh, God.
Oh
my God.
What y'all drinking? What y'all
All
drinking?
right. Yeah, I know, right?
You got it.
I'm drinking water.
Right
Okay.
now. Show the covers. Show the covers so we can fact check your ass.
My
like,
dog
what?
chewed on this one. It's like a mess. Okay.
It's okay. It's beautiful.
In the darkest corners of the night in Caldwell, New York, a conflict like no other rages. Long divided as a terrifying battleground for the vampires and their enemies, the city is home to a band of brothers born to defend their race, the warrior vampires of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. John Matthew has come a long way since he was found living among humans, his vampire nature unknown to himself and to those around him. After he was taken in by the Brotherhood, no one could guess what his true history was or his true identity. Indeed, the fallen brother, Darius, has returned, but with a different face and a different destiny. As a vicious personal vendetta takes John into the heart of the war, he will need to call upon both who he is now and who he once was in order to face off against evil incarnate. Hex, a sympath assassin, has long steeled herself against the attraction between herself and John Matthew. Having already lost one lover to madness, she will not allow the male of worth to fall prey to the darkness of her twisted life. When fate intervenes, however, the two discover that love, like destiny, is inevitable between soulmates.
Oh, yay, John. All right. That is a beautiful story. So we're going to just jump right into it. Let's talk about it. So they set that, John Quinn and Blay set that tattoo shop on its ear right at the start of the book. So John was getting a tattoo with Hex's name on it. And we got a couple things to talk about that went on in the shop. And those plots carried through. First of all, isn't that beautiful?
Okay.
Yes. That's the tattoo that was on his back in the old language, spelling out Hex's name. So first, when he first got it, and at the end of the book, when Hex saw it, it kind of solidified their relationship. Did you guys get that when you read that this time? I was like, oh my God, I don't think I noticed it before. So that was kind of cool, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, like, she was kind of mad, though. I thought, like, she was like, why does he have this on his back? She was like, I don't want to be first billing if he made somebody else. But I don't know if she was just in denial at that point, or, that kind of, she's like, what? It's so permanent. She's afraid of commitment.
I felt like she was kind of like, that let her know that it was really, really real for John. And I think she kind of needed that reinforcement in order to understand the type of love that he had for her. Because up until that moment, I feel like she was kind of in denial. Like, maybe he won't love me like I need to be loved because I'm a mess, right? What you think, Sage?
I think it was a little bit of that and a little bit of her thinking she would ruin him, because she still feels guilty for what she did to murder. So she feels like, he's such a good guy and he's such a good heart. And I'm going to, if I have a relationship with him, I'm going to ruin him because that's what I do to people, because like you said, she sees the name on the back, her name on his back. And she's like, well, shit, what's he going to do when he meets somebody else? Like, cross my name out for her name in, or like what's gonna happen? Right. So because she was in denial and she couldn't accept that she could have a happily ever after. She couldn't accept it, and she was still in denial at that point.
Yeah, I felt like that was a lot, but before we leave the tattoo shot, there was another couple that kind of takes center stage in this book. And I don't want to call them a couple because they're not a couple, honey. Blade and Quinn, I think that might have been the final straw on the camel's back for Blade, to see him eyeball fuck and enter this woman in such a graphic way in the shop. Like, how cruel was that? And I just, for a moment I was like, Quinn, you bastard. How did you guys feel? Like, my heart broke for Blade.
It did, but at the same time, it's like later you find out, like, he's like, I was thinking about him the whole time. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, but at the surface, when you first see it, you're like, yeah, he's just a fucking asshole. He knows how Blade feels. Why is he rubbing it in? You know? And it was a dick move.
Real dick move.
It was guaranteed a dick move. Like, guaranteed a really fucked up thing to do. But I think in his mind, he was thinking, if I keep doing this, if he keeps seeing me with other people, with other women, then maybe he'll stop thinking that there's a possibility for the two of us, right? But then at the same time, when Blade did move on, everything changed for Quinn. It's like he saw the light.
Yeah, so we're going to get to Saxton in a minute with his finance. But my thing is, y'all think that's okay or no? Because, we hear later that, he was like in his head and he like, oh, I lost my erection because as soon as I looked at her, because all I really wanted to do was eyeball fuck my man's over across the room. But when I tried to break away and tamp down those feelings that I had, I lost all urge to be with this woman, and I faked it. But Blade don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, these are your inside thoughts, Quinn. You got to use your outside voice to let people know how you feel. I was fucking done with him for a minute, and you know how Quinn is though. So we're gonna talk about Saxton later. So I'm gonna move off of that. We'll stay with John and Hex for a minute. First, though, have you guys noticed that John can kind of ebb and flow between being an alpha male and a cinnamon roll? And I think that's the kind of hero we need, right? So a cinnamon roll, for folks who don't know, they're like betas, but not all the way. They're just, they can like ebb and flow with their woman and, be secondary to her and feel fine with that. So, I feel like John walks the line between both of them, and I really enjoy that.
I think that he is a beta, but he has alpha tendencies.
Yeah.
So so cinnamon roll.
Yeah, so he's like, walking that line, straddling that line. Yeah. I think I want more heroes like that. Do you guys want more?
Yeah, I tend to really like beta males, and with like alpha tendencies. Like, they may come across as alpha, but they really aren't. So I don't know why I like that. It's like in my own writing, I tend to do that too. So.
Yeah, I think, but it felt good, because we have like a lot of alpha males in the series. And most people are alpha, like Quinn's alpha for sure. Mm-hmm. Saxton feels alpha to me. Wrath is definitely like, he's the king of alpha males. What do you think, Sage?
I think you're right. It would be nice, and I guess I like that whole like alpha exterior and that softness in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. So, and John is perfect in that because he's like the strong silent type, right? So you really don't even, so he doesn't speak, so you don't even get the sweetness in him until you get to know him and learn to communicate with him. So he always comes off with that real strong silent type, but he is like beta-ish. But I like that because I don't think Hex could have been with somebody that wasn't like John. Like, she needs somebody that she can respect, and he's at her level. So he is at her level where he is very alpha, but then at the same time he respects her alpha tendencies, and I think because of that they make such a great match.
I think so
they
too.
Complement each other.
They absolutely do. I think his ability, or his special needs, where he cannot communicate vocally, and her ability to read his grid, to read into who he is. I think that's kind of what makes them a great couple. And I want to say they've been through so fucking much. It was so like nice to see them, you know, get together in that way. And because they complement each other so well, I just really appreciated that. So did y'all want to add something about how well they go together? They go together like peas and carrots.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with the communication part. Her, because of his communication barrier, for her to be able to just kind of know, she just knows what he's trying to say. And, you know, even though she learned sign language really quickly, which was awesome.
It was.
I probably would not, but she learned it.
Well, their intellect is higher than ours. Remember, don't forget that.
I don't think, I'm just not going to get it that quickly. I can't spell that fast. So if I have to spell, it's going to be a problem. But
I know he's so fine. You might surprise yourself.
I don't really. Do I really need to know what he's thinking though? Like, is it okay?
You can read his mind. Maybe not.
But
I mean, it was a very nice
communication. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I also think like a part of why the brothers don't see him as Darius, because it's kind of obvious, is because they don't really quite get his personality, because he doesn't really show it that much. I mean, we get a sense of it because of his thoughts and stuff, but I feel like, you know, they don't catch on to that because he doesn't talk. You know, it's not as overt to them.
So let's move into that. I'm sorry, of course, you know, I can't have a Zoom cast without at least one call coming in. But let's stick with that. The parallel between Darius and John was like super strong in this book. Like the backstory that was shown with you know, Hex's mother and Tor and Darius saving her, and that, you know, it was kind of like it ran together with John trying to get back his mate, and even up until the end when Lash was killed. It was the exact same way that Hex's mother was, you know, saved. So what did you guys think about that? I personally adored it. I was like, that one felt new too. Every time I read these books, I'm like, oh, that's new. So what did you guys think about that? I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there were. Go ahead.
I really like the parallel. I really liked being able to see. Well, first off, I really always wanted more Darius, right? So that the past gives us more Darius, and we get a little bit more of an understanding of who he was, to the Brotherhood and to you know, the people around him. But the parallel, the friendship between Darius and Tor, and how he kind of took him in because his father was an asshole, you know, and then in the same thing when you see that, and then you know the story between John and Tor, and you just see that dynamic, and it was just really cool to see how she tied that all in. I really enjoyed that circle. And then the memory you mentioned, how Lash died in the same way that Hex's father died. That was spot on, done so well, so well.
Oh my God, down to the stance, like that was amazing. What you got, AJ?
Well, no, I mean, he was stabbed back to the Omega, but he was taken down, with a bullet, whatever. But but ultimately he had to be.
Well, just even John's thoughts mirrored Darius's thoughts in that moment. Oh my God, I can't catch the bullet. Like all of those thoughts, they were the same thoughts that Darius had in section. So I just really liked the way that kind of
I mean, you know, obviously, well, he wasn't stabbed back to the Omega, right? Because he doesn't go that way, right? But you know, I think that leading up into that moment where he had been such a dick to John, such a horrible fucking being, I think that was probably one of the most satisfying parts of the book, was to see him be killed in such a way. I think that was just really well done. So kudos to Tor for taking him out of the game. Let's talk about Tor real quick. They were pissed at each other for a long, long time. Well, felt like a long time. So since Tor came back, their relationship had been kind of strained. And they, hadn't really connected despite John bringing him food and doing the things that were kind of, obligatory to get him back into health. They were still estranged. Do you think their relationship would have been rekindled if Hex hadn't gotten kidnapped?
Eventually. I mean, it may have taken something else to happen, but I think eventually. I think John was getting there. I think that Hex being kidnapped kind of jump-started it, got it going. Like, and then he realized what it's like to be bonded. And even if, I think that even if he's just bonded to Hex, he'd understand that feeling of the such a great loss. He'd understand what it would feel like. So,
right. How about you, Sage?
I agree that he would have, but I think it would have been a lot longer. It would have been a really long time because John was still in that immature, almost state of mind where I'm just going to, because he was starting to figure. You mentioned he was bringing him food and he started to forgive him, but then Tor left again. It was some Tor left again, and John didn't know where he was, and it just set him off, and then he just could not forgive him from that moment. Like he couldn't look at him. She was so upset with him. I think that had he not, because think about it, I would Hex had given him the time of day, really had not all this kind of spiraled out of control until much later. So it just feels like I don't see him understanding where Tor was coming from had the situation not happened now. He would have probably forgiven him later or whatever, but much, much later. But like right now, I don't think he would have been able to had he not stepped in basically Tor's shoes.
Yeah, because he kind of got to see that you kind of don't have control over your actions when you're a bonded male looking for your mate, or when you're really, wounded by, something that happened to your mate, because he was about to go out it was like daylight. And Zeta's like, no, you're not doing that, dog. I really like when Zeta came in, fucking napkin in his hand and a bottle, like, where you going? Like, what are you doing? It was the best. I think John needed that family around him to kind of bring him back together. But yeah, I don't think he would have understood without having stood in those shoes and had people try to physically restrain him from doing stupid shit because his bonded male is hyper. So it was pretty cool. I'm glad they made up. I really am. So the next question is, why was Wrath so overprotective? Like, I get that John was being a little stupid, but Wrath was almost like super overprotective. Like, you're not going without Quinn, and I felt like it was a bit much. Did you guys feel that, or maybe I'm just being overprotective?
I've always hated the personal guard issue because it's not like John really needs him. You know what I mean? He just, he's his guard because he was saving Quinn's life. And I don't know. The whole thing irritates me, how they treat him like a little fucking kid, and it irritates the shit out of me. Because they don't talk to Quinn like that. And it's not like Quinn's any older,
Smarter.
Smarter. So it's annoying. And I don't know if they baby him because they feel like that's the last of Darius' bloodline. I don't fucking know, but it's irritating as shit.
I think the point is, and I'm not taking up for it because I was just like, let the dude go a little bit. Like, he is over it right now. But I kind of think it's that, John can't speak and it's difficult for them. Like, if he needs somebody, how can he call for help? But I feel like he got that whistle thing down pat. That's John because he whistled, so like, I get it, but I'm kind of like, okay, ease back just a touch. What you think, Sage?
I agree with both of you. I think John, they treat John like a child. Everybody feels like they're John's stepdad, right? I feel like they all have that, they adopted him, like like, what is that old school movie with the three dads? They all feel like, you know what I'm talking
with
about?
The baby? I can't remember the name. Now I'm gonna go.
Remember the baby. I think it was called
Tom Selleck and two other guys.
I can't remember. I can see their faces, but I can't remember their names.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel like that's what they all treat John, right? So you have even the person that doesn't have relationships with people, like he keeps everybody at bay, Zetas, is like his like big brother, right? You know, and he's the one that approaches him, talks to him about all the personal stuff. And then you have like Fury's just on his way. No one really pays attention to what he's doing. But like Zeta, he's doing what he's doing.
But on the shelf. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I had to stop and acknowledge that.
And then you know, so you have like you have V and Butch. They all treat him like, hey son, and you know, Wrath. They all son him. They've always done that. So I feel like
I feel like Rage does that.
And then Wrath is protective over him, because if anything happens to him, his wife, his Shellen would, you know, have a hard time because that's her only sibling, right? So I think that's it. It's a connection of the two.
It definitely has a lot of nuances because, you know, our because of who John is and who his sire is, actually who, you know, he is in actuality, which is also annoying because at this point, shouldn't John like, no, these are not just random ass seizure visions.
Yeah,
they are actually like, shouldn't he be like, maybe this a past life? Like, you know, I'm ready to have a past life anytime I like see a number two times in a day. I'm like, deja vu. Oh my God, this is my past life. But like John is like, I don't know. I just have these seizures. Like, is that? I really want him to know who he is. Like how?
But it's not just like the seizures. It's these random thoughts he gets. Like when he sees Beth and he's like, you know, she's mine or something. Like he just has these like different thoughts, and you were like, you're never gonna question him. You're never gonna go, where'd this come from?
Yeah, I do love that Hex questions with him though. She's like, I see something else on your grid, and you know, she's like, you black. Like, I do love that she's there for maybe that purpose, or maybe I'm too early in the series. We ain't got to talk about that right now. But
well, I mean, she does have more revelations, yes, but that's later.
Yeah, but there's still not complete revelations, right? Like, she still hasn't figured it out either. I mean, let's not, like, so we're not really spoiling because nothing really has happened for him to put that connection together. Not that we can remember.
Not
maybe
so far, no.
Huh?
Not so far.
I think it will,
so far,
eventually.
Oh, you guys, well, eventually, yes.
Yeah.
We've read the later books. They talk about it more.
I know, but I'm saying it's
but up until now, no, we don't. You're right.
Yeah, it still hasn't gotten to where we need it to be. I wanted to, like, I'm like, sir.
But I mean, even when you're talking about future books, though, I'm not trying to spoil, I'm not saying anything, but I still feel like nothing's really resolved, even in future books, is my whole point. You know, I mean, they talk about it, but it's not resolved yet. Like, I don't feel like we don't get John as Darius. Like, they do not say that, and that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for.
You want it to be realized. You want it to be.
Yeah.
You want the end result to be like, oh my God, that's our long lost brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna
happen. That would feel good. It would feel good. So we're gonna move. We're gonna talk about John, Quinn, and Blaze relationship, and there's a lot there.
Romance.
Because we were talking about parallels, and they kind of like have their own little brotherhood, you know. And I don't think they would be who they were without each other, right? What do you guys think about that?
I mean, yeah, and I think that they're like the next generation kind of thing, almost. Yeah. Not quite, but almost. And there's definitely dynamic. I think John is, I think Quinn thinks he's the leader of that group, but I think it's John.
Yeah, I think Quinn does.
It's kind of the glue, they hold them together, so, and I think we see that more later, but, you know, when certain things happen, but that we won't talk about. But yeah, I just feel like, he's more of like the leader of that. Because he's the reason they live at the house.
For sure. I feel like when we're seeing them, Blaze is the softer side, Quinn is the gun, because he's ready to pop off at any given motherfucking moment, and John is the brain. You know, and I just love their dynamic. What do you think about their dynamic, Sage?
I agree exactly how you said. And I see them like So John really feels like Wrath to me. So if we're gonna compare him to the Brotherhood, I feel like John is Wrath. And then Quinn, you called him the Gun. To me, he's more like a Vicious, right? Because he goes off on him. Fuck you! I'm gonna do what I want to do. You can't tell me what to do. But then if you ordered him, he has to do it. You know, like, and I know it's because of the whole how do you say it?
Ostrich Nostrum.
Ostrich Nostrum. And I know it's from that, but that dynamic is from that. And then Blade, he's just like the nice guy. He's just such a nice guy.
Oh, Blade is a nice guy. I do.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I'm jumping ahead. Let's go and get this out of the way.
You like our ginger
How fucking
vampire.
dare you, Quinn? How fucking dare you get jealous? How dare you? So you boned 1,000,001 people in front of this man after you knew how he felt about you. You, ignored his feelings. You did whatever to Layla on his bed.
Yeah.
And then when Saxton slipped his card, okay, so Saxton was cool as hell for slipping away his card because he saw Quinn cock block and he slipped in that card and Quinn had no idea what was going on. I love that. But how dare he get jealous? I feel like we got to spend a lot of time on this because that is fucking selfish.
All right, well, first I want to talk about Saxton and the card slip.
Okay.
I love it when, later, Blake says, how'd you know I was gay? And he's like, I didn't. I was hopeful. And I was
so cool.
And Blake and Saxton, he's not necessarily alpha, I don't think, but he's very sure of himself. He's got confidence. He's got this swagger, and it's really sexy, I think. Even though he's he's a little more leaner, he's not as muscled, and not that he's a wimp, but he just does not want. I mean, if he's gonna get jumped, then he got jumped, right, by five guys, 5 men, burly men, humans. But I understand him not because he doesn't know how to fight. He isn't trained that way. So, but I think if he had, he could have, held his own, and But he's so sweet and he's cute. He's a cutie.
I love it. I just love Saxton. And I disagree with you on the alpha thing, though, because I do feel like he has intellect that can better his opponent. So he's one of those people that knows how to work his way around. He kind of thinks without the sympath quality, right? So he's he knew Quinn was cock blocked. I knew Quinn was cock blocked. Everybody did, right? And instead of verbally sparring with him with this crazy ass cousin of his, he found a way around that. And I just really adore him. So I feel like that's alpha in a way, even though it may not necessarily present as bond.
And he likes Quinn. And I think part of it too was that he didn't want to get into him because he likes him. He understands, and he saw that he could see, how Quinn was getting jealous. He could see it.
Yeah.
And he kind of liked it too, right?
Yeah.
He liked
the challenge of it, I think.
He liked the challenge. But you know what I loved? One of my favorite moments with Saxton when Blake came in wearing the pinstripe suit because he called him and was like, I'm wearing gray.
Oh, and that's that voice.
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but he was like, if you wore a pinstripe suit, it would complement me really well. And so he goes and he's wearing pinstripe, and he's like, did you wear the pinstripe before or after I called? And I love it because
adored it.
It's a
so before they go on the date though, so Quinn came in and did his Jedi mind trick shit. I didn't love it. He came in. He pressed himself against Blade and, very masterfully made Blade feel things. And then he kissed him, real possessively. And then, Blade was like, I'm ready. Dropped his trowel. Sir, why did you walk out on him like that? I felt like he was. What is his deal? Somebody tell me because Quinn drives me.
It is. It's 100% dick move. 100%. But when you hear his point of view, you get it and then you don't get it, right? Don't be.
I can't live with his point of view.
I know, it's horrible, but he doesn't think he's good enough for him. He thinks he doesn't. You hear him, right? He's
I know, but I'm saying
he just doesn't. He thinks he's defective. He thinks he's, like he has these thoughts about himself. I have mismatched eyes, and I'm not good enough for him, and he deserves somebody better than me. And so all these things play in his head, and that's why he pushes him away, because he feels. And then at the same time, think about it. So I'm not defending him in that way, but I'm just thinking, like, if I'm with my best friend and we have feelings for each other, but if we cross the line, and then what would, and it doesn't work out, then are we gonna be best friends anymore? Like, is that maybe?
I understand what you're saying, but that scene that you're talking about where he, kisses on very ferociously, it's like his bonding scent had triggered. This was a no going back kind of thing.
Never.
So
yeah, he ignored it.
I didn't remember that part with the bonding scent.
He said it. He's like, no, because Blade was like, of all the things I thought would happen, I never thought that would trigger his bonding scent. It's like, I never.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. I just, if when I feel I'm not confident in something, I'm not gonna go and pick at it. Like, he went and picked at it, and then he showed up at the cigar bar. He outside talking. I'm like, he saw the kiss. I'm like, you just got all the nerve, my dude. I just am not feeling it. I get what you guys are saying, but I don't love this. I don't love this.
I don't love it either. I agree. I'm not saying I love it either. Let me ask you a question though, and honestly, when I first read this book, even this book, I was very suspicious of Saxton. Like, I didn't trust him, so I almost didn't like him. So I think on the second read through, it's like I have a different opinion of him. I don't know if you guys feel that way, or I'm just crazy.
I think we were rooting for Quinn. We wanted Quinn so desperately together. Mm-hmm. But here's what switched. Because I kind of still felt a little bit like, Saxton is a player. Because Quinn had told me he was a player. But when Saxton was on the stairs and Quinn confronted him when he came in, he was pissed. But he said, you didn't have a problem with Saxton. In fact, he's like your favorite. You like always like extolled his virtue. You were his fanboy, basically. So that kind of clued me in. I think I might have missed that before, that Saxton was this cool guy who, had things that Quinn wanted. So he did admire him until he got his boo with his raggedy ass. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm still hating on Quinn. I'm not ready to forgive that motherfucker. I am not.
I love Quinn.
Hold on. Let's move. Let's not.
There are qualities about him. It's not like I hate everything, but I think some of the decisions he makes are fucking boneheaded. And because
he's like Eliza called him. He's a gun. He's a gun. So he shoots before he thinks. Literally. Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
All right.
But anyway.
So speaking of old relationships, can we shift real quick to Hex and V? Is it fair for him to still be pissed at her after all these years? What the fuck, dude? I don't think we talked about this, but this popped into my head. I was like, V, why are you being like this? And I feel like enough time has passed, right? And for those who don't know, V feeling a way about the way she, her and Murder ended up, and I get it.
We never see that.
No, it was about Butch. It wasn't Murder.
Yeah.
It was about Butch.
Oh, it was about Butch because she fucked over Butch. But I think he had some feelings about Murder too.
I don't, we never see that. And I don't want to do a spoiler because I know in a later book when Murder's really brought up in a Brotherhood meeting, like I don't want to talk too much about it, but
I felt
she didn't have any ill will or any kind of issue at that point. Like he even thought about that texture. Yeah.
Okay. I just felt like, I know he felt a way about, I felt like he was thinking that she ruins brothers' lives, let's say.
Yeah, but they didn't know
No.
at that point what happened.
But the communication they had from like brain to brain in this book, she was like, I don't want your boo. Like, I know you had feeling like I don't want him. It was a one and done. Like, I did Butch one and done. That was it. And it was like, and he was like, oh, okay. Like,
I felt like there was more, but I mean, and that could just be me reading more into it because V just, you know how V is. I love it.
I felt like when I read it the first time, I was like, oh, like, ooh, you know. But then, like, when I read it the second time, that scene where she basically apologizes,
clarified,
you know, acknowledges his feelings, like, it wasn't. To me, it was more like it was laid back because at that point, like, he had already been kind of cool with her, you know, a little bit. Because she's, you know, John's bonded to her, and so he kind of relaxed because of that. But you know, so when that scene comes along, I'm just like, oh yeah, that was just an acknowledgement. It was really nice, and I feel like he just appreciated it. I didn't feel like it was that big a deal at that point.
I don't think I liked it the first time, and I'm pretty sure I don't like it this time either.
What?
I don't love the way he was.
Well, I agree because it's like kind of like it's like it doesn't matter anymore, right? Because
you're mated, dude.
They're both mated, right? And now she's going to be mated. So it's like, why are you bringing up old news? But I think between them two, they don't like that little bumping of heads is because they're so much alike too, right?
Right.
I feel like Vicious and her are like, there's a lot. They kind of have the same like personality.
Iciness. That edge to them.
And I think that's why they bump heads a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I don't know that. Well, that's later books, so we'll talk about it later. We got time for that. All right, and that was off script, so I apologize for just jumping into V, but I feel like I have to talk about V every single time we have a discussion. Now that my boo Rev. Okay, so Hex and John and the scene in the townhouse. I was shredded. First, John went into the townhouse and he could smell her and he took the pillow. Second, she was touching his face. And when he walked out the door, she literally said, take me with you. Like, don't leave me. I was dead. I like, how much did y'all cry? I felt so, that scene fucked me up more than it ever has before. So how did y'all feel about it? Thoughts, please.
That scene was really powerful because first you see bits of how she can communicate with him. You know, like, so she's cloaked, but he can still hear her. He can still almost feel her. And that was, and the way she, like, he cried. I mean, those are like those just really sweet and sad moments, right? Like you see, and he shows her how much he cares about her, and she didn't think anyone could ever care about her like that. Like, so it was, you know, so she got to see it with his grief for her, and it was just, oh my God, so sad.
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, and she tells him that, you know, she says, I love you to him, you know.
And then he touched his heart. She said, I love you, and he touched his heart. Yeah. So, like, it was like, he can hear her. It's amazing.
You can feel her. And I think, you know, I feel like their love was so strong that it was breaking through, like, even force fields. And I you know, that's always going to be the shit that just make you go, oh my God, my heart. When he took that pillow and he ripped apart Mr. D, deservedly, and he took that pillow and even in his breakdown moment, he was like, where's that pillow? And they had it, and I was like, oh my God, like, that was one of the most powerful scenes in the book.
Blay understood enough to make sure that he took that pillow, right?
Oh my God. Oh, that was so satisfying when she broke out of that room, and you know, it was a lot for her to rescue herself. So that's the thing too about Hex, that she fucking rescues herself. I love that she kicks misogyny in the balls. Can we spend some time talking about her personality? Like, I know she's been through a lot of shit, but don't you think she's like much needed around the mansion and the other females because they can draw on her strength. Like, let's talk about that for a minute.
But I don't think that, like, I think Bella is strong too. So I don't know. I think they're all strong in their own ways. But yeah, I don't know. Like, she's my spirit animal. So like, heck when I grow up. No.
I do.
And she never blames people for the situations that she's been in too. So I like that. Like, she's not a whiny baby. Like, Quinn is like a whiner baby, you know. And she never is like, okay, I've had this shit happen to me, but she doesn't whine about it, you know.
I think the most I heard. I think the most
responsibility for his actions, where Quinn doesn't take responsibility for his actions. He just does whatever the fuck he feels like doing. And
Quinn is something else.
Yeah, and she really has a lot of compassion. Probably, you know, she's a cool chick, you know. Sometimes I think she's a little too hard and I slap her, but at the same time, I'm glad that she sticks to her guns, you know.
She's true to who she is, right? So she's true to who she is in the way where she's like, you know, I can't believe I'm crying. Like, this sucks. I don't want to cry. You know, like, and, you know, like, even though she's feeling, I mean, you know, we alpha men have pride, right? So, you know, that's just, it's an emotion. And, but she's like, I don't want to be this girl. I don't want to do this. And, you know, it's like, I just like that she stays true to who she is through the whole thing. Even when she's like feeling more feminine because John is, you know, he towers over her, and, you know, like, when she wore the mating dress, like, those are things that are, like the softer side of her. Yeah. But I like that she owns it, right? She's kind of like, so I can be both. It's all right. You know, I like it.
Awesome. Yeah, I do love it. I think, you know, she had a lot of opportunity to see how wrong she was, and she spent a lot of time trying to rectify that. Like, you know, obviously she handled the first time that they had sex extremely poorly, but she made up for that in a whole lot of ways, you know. And I really love that about her strength and her ability to, you know, like you said, accept responsibility. So
I love how she's like about the mating dress. So she was just like, you know, regardless of what I like, a girl's gotta love that dress.
Yeah. I think that was so cool. I do love the way John looks at her too. Like, when she does like these incredibly feminine things, like when she had on his sweatshirt and it was like too big for her, and he was like, "Oh, that's it right there." I love their reunion. I loved when they finally had this epic sexual moment in the training center. That was like the best sex scene for them, like, in the entire book. Like, it was amazing. So, best sex scene for them. What was that for you guys? They had a lot of sex.
A lot.
You know, one of the things that was memorable to me was when she finds out the sex they had right before she finds out that he has a tattoo on his back.
Right, the one in the bathroom. Yeah. Right? I was just going to say, that one in the bathroom was pretty damn hot.
And she was kind of girly about it, because she's like, he wants my blood in him too.
Right. She was like, take it then. I honestly, when she was able to get past her guard and just let it down with him, I loved it. Oh my God. Okay. So we talked about the mating ceremony. How satisfying was that? Oh my God. It was like a lot to love. Favorite mating ceremony moment.
I like the
favorite ceremony moment.
Well, the whole scene. So from the time she got the dress from Tor, to the time she saw her mother, to the time she came down the stairs and John looked at her, to John Raph carrying out the ceremony. What was your favorite moment in that? Because it was a lot to love about that.
I like that she met her mother, but I also like the fact that, you know, like when, you know, she's presented with that lacquer box with the and she just like, mine. Yeah. She just like,
this is mine.
Snaps it.
Oh my God.
And she smiled, you know, she was smiling during the ceremony, you know, and it was just like, she had this big grin, and it was like, she just doesn't smile like that. She doesn't grin from ear to ear like that. And so she's just like in her bliss, you know. So it was really sweet.
Yeah, like from the time he saw her on the stairs, like she tried to fight it, and it was like it was in his point of view, but he was looking at her like with this half smile, and then that smile just lit up, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. That's the shit I read romance for. I really enjoyed that. How about
it's
you?
Like, come to me, my female.
Oh my god, what was your favorite, Sage?
I would say when he took her on the stairs, right? So he was like, look, I know you guys want to party, but we're going to go bang real quick. We'll be right back.
Right. I got to do that.
And, you know, like, so he stops and he, like, looks down at everybody and she's like, are we just going to stand here? What are we doing? You know, I love that. And I loved when he gave her what was that? It was a diamond, but it was a necklace, or was it a necklace?
It's a necklace.
And I liked when he was he picked out something that was for her in what she would use. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, you know, like he didn't get her a ring or whatever. He got her something that, you know, she could wear, and it was more her personality, which I really,
it was outside of their customs too, because I don't think they exchange rings. They exchange, like, he gets the tattoo, and that's kind of the bonding,
and she gets the box.
Right? Yeah, she gets the box. But this was a human thing that he did for her. And let's talk about that too, because Beth spent a moment with her brother that it would have been really nice to see. Don't you guys think? If we would have saw them going to shop together for that, that was so cool.
I wanted to see that so bad. I like, we never get to see the dynamic between that brother and sister.
Except for the seizure moment.
Other than the seizure moments, right? Like, and if they were able to hang out and go shopping together, so that his moments with her are not always seizure related. So I kind of wish we would have gotten that. It would have been kind of like a fun, you know, moment to like capture for us, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Who knows? Maybe she wrote it and it was just so damn long she had to cut it.
It is a long.
This book was long. I mean,
it was enjoyable though. I'm gonna say, like, up until this point, like, that was the most satisfactory ending for me, because I felt like they have been through shit, like, from the beginning of the series all the way through, from like Heck sleeping with Butch and, you know, kind of feeling away and not having her own happily ever after, to, you know, John, just his tragic beginning and losing Melisandre. Like, that was, for me, I was like, finally, they get something of their own. So that was really cool. That was the shit. But I got to get into a few other characters that kind of made this book what it was. First, let's talk about Pain, Vicious's twin sister, we find out in this book. So she was kind of raised chosen, because we know that Vicious went with the bloodletter and she stayed with her mother, the scribe virgin. What made her shift to be such a, you know, she's badass, right? So what was it that gave her that? Because, or was it just hereditary from her father? Or what was it? What do you guys think?
Hereditary. I mean, you know, she did something that the scribe virgin thought was just, even she says she has masculine, you know, tendencies or whatever. But I mean, you know, she was avenging her brother, you know, and to be punished for doing something that's in vampire nature, I don't know, it's kind of despicable to me. So
yeah, I think she wanted her daughter to be like a chosen. But I don't know why she wanted that, considering, you know, you could have just made a chosen if that's what you wanted. You went down there, scribe virgin, got with the most vicious man on the planet in the vampire community, right? Boned him, had a baby, made a deal, gave your son away, and then you thought your daughter was going to be what? Like, why didn't you just make a chosen? What do you think, Sage?
I don't even understand. I never understood why she even did that, because it's not like if so Vicious and Pain are divine, you know, essentially, right? But they're still the king of vampires. So if they were divine, you know, why aren't they the like the, you know what I'm talking about? Like, why aren't they overwrapped? Like, why are they just, you know, he's been his subject all these years, right?
Yeah.
You know, why not? If you were going to do that, if you're creating this special type of male and female, beings, why didn't you give them that placement? Instead, you had him raised with bloodletter, which, I mean, let's just be honest, you made a deal, but like, you are almighty. You couldn't take the boy back? Like, come on, you are his creator. You could have taken the boy back.
But she thought that was doing a bad thing, like, you know, because she's always into the balance, you know. Right. That's her downfall, really.
But what would have been the balance of that? The balance would have been the way he was mistreating him.
Yeah, I think
she could have found a little loophole. You know, she finds those loopholes when she wants to. So she could have found that loophole.
You know, I feel like they were made because her intention was to make the Pramali, and then, you know, but it's not like he's
she accidentally had an extra baby.
Yeah, and they want her to have a baby, but not necessarily, obviously not with her brother, but, you know, but like, yeah, I think that was her intention. She wanted to make a strong.
To have a
okay, I got a question. So she wanted a Pramali. Yeah. But then instead she got 2. So why not have Pain have children of warriors as well? And they would be just as...
That might have been the plan, right? Because she raised her as like a chosen. She was probably hoping she came out like Layla. Oh, poor Layla. But she probably was hoping. But this girl came out a little more on that bloodletter side. You can't pick your parents. Well, she should have chose better. I don't know.
Even in Payne's head, she's like, "What did the bitch expect?"
Right. She was like, I'm like, take after my father.
Right. But I still think that she was like, oh, because I think she thought in the beginning that this was going to play out differently. I think she thought she was still going to have control over her children if she had like a biological set of kids as opposed to just creating them. So I think she just was playing in a sandbox that she didn't know anything about, and then she got these kids. Lo and behold, they have free will, and she should have known because her brother, the Omega, has free will. He's like evil. Like, I'm sure their parents didn't want some evil ass, you know what I mean, son like that. So I don't know why she didn't know. I don't know. The Scrap Virgin is an enigma. She is just something. I'm gonna move on from there because we're gonna start talking about other stuff, and I'm just not ready. But do you think that Payne was kept it a little too real with Layla? You know, Layla a little thirsty.
You know, it's like, I like that Payne is just, she just is like, but she made some assumptions, and then Layla did set her straight though. So I thought that was so cool. So even though she has his opinion, she's like, oh, okay, well, okay, my bad. You know, she's not unreasonable. So the Scribe Virgin, she's like, has this fear that, oh, she's a danger to herself and to other people, but yet she's very reasonable. Like, you can reason with her, and she understands, you know, and it's almost like she's thirsty for, not thirsty, I shouldn't say that word, but she longs for knowledge too, and she's open to other ideas and things like that. So she, even though she's like, you know, and she sees that her and Layla and like no one are like kind of almost the same, because but for different reasons. They want things. It may be different things, but the feeling about being trapped is the same.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I do appreciate that about it, but I was like, ooh, when she said it, I was like, yeah, Jesus Christ. But what do you think, Sage?
I think it makes her I like that, you know, what's here comes out here. And it just makes her unique in that way. Like, you don't have to figure her out. Like, you don't have to worry about trying to read her, you know, like her facial expressions or whatever, you know, or her mood. She literally will tell you exactly what is on her mind. And I like that about her because there's no guessing. She's real as real can get.
Right.
I like that about her.
Much needed sometimes. Especially for Layla. Poor girl. Let's spend a little time on Layla. Oh my God. her and Quinn. First, we already talked about what they did on Blaze's bed, and I don't know. I don't know. That wasn't right. But Layla would have done anything for Quinn, and he kind of saw that in her eyes. Like she was ready to like be mated to him. And even though he's a fucker, he kind of, he like, I'm not gonna be that kind of fucker.
Yeah.
But what is her like? Why can't she see it?
She's
like,
naive.
I feel like Layla,
She doesn't have the experience. She's just naive.
Yeah, Quamia has no experience either, though. And she kind of was
Her
like...
personality, though. Layla's more, what's the word I'm looking for? She's just like more demure. She's just more like, she's more, I don't know. She just has a different opinion of herself. And where Cormia is just like, her opinion of herself is different. Her motivation for her opinion of herself were different. I don't know. I think Layla's just, I don't know. It's weird. She doesn't question things. Like Cormia was, her personality was she questioned things. Where Layla's just like, that's how it is.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's what they want, right? So Cormia, she was she was the last one that wanted to be, the head Shellen. Like she didn't want that. She or the head chosen or whatever they were calling it, I can't remember. But she didn't want that. Layla wants that. She wants Halloran, she wants Young, she wants that whole thing. So
all the things.
And she doesn't understand that men can just they didn't teach her, right? He's just having a little good old time. Like, oh, you're hot, yeah, let me make out with you. That was really what he was thinking at first until he realized she wanted more. Like he would have done more
thirst in her eyes.
Yeah,
thirst. Oh,
I mean, she literally thought that it was her fault that John, didn't want to have sex with her.
Didn't like her.
Yeah.
Well, she does internalize those things. Like she takes rejection as if it's a failure, which is kind of a chosen thing. But it's just tragic to watch. Like every time I see her on the page, I'm like, oh.
So the only thing, she's trained to be an Eros, but she doesn't realize, like, they didn't teach her that, it could just be sexual too. It doesn't have to be emotional. So, I mean, I feel like that's a fail on them when they were teaching her, because in the end, that's what their jobs would have been, right?
But did they know?
Well, I think that I'm sorry. I think that she knows it's not emotional, but she can't separate the two. Like, not many women can either, in real life. So, I think that she's just caught up in this, her lust for her, her lust or whatever, her thirst, kind of clouds her judgment. She can't discern between love and lust because she doesn't have enough experience, and I don't think it's a matter of being taught. I think, they were taught the mechanics, but they weren't taught the ins and outs of it and the feelings that she might have. So that's true.
Well, it's tragic because we can totally see Quinn spiraling out of control for Playlock, and we already know that shit might not end well. So bad.
We can't go there, but that book.
But everything ends the way. Okay, we're not talking about that book, but everything ends. Everything is folding the way it needs to, because that relationship actually between Quinn and Layla needs to happen, right? So everything happens for a reason, and I think it does. I think it does.
We'll talk about that when we get to that book. I'm going to write that down because we're going to revisit that, because some other things could have happened.
I just don't.
If she wasn't so thirsty.
I don't like that storyline, so I'm not even, but that's it.
I feel like Layla forces the issue. Bless her heart. So we're gonna leave Layla alone, because people when you're
I like Layla though. I don't dislike
people
Layla.
have feelings about Layla, like feelings, and I'm like, she's not that bad, but people have feelings about her.
Well, because
like her
of what
later.
she does, right? Later, I think that's why they have those feelings.
We won't go there, or spoil anything. But I like her later more than I like her.
I think later. I think now she's a lot, and we dealing with her being a lot right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Like she can't make toe shit. So anyway, so let's talk about Lash real quick. And he's almost our last topic of the night, because we always have a character that we thirst for. Definitely not Lash, right? So she was fuck boss disgusting. But he kind of came out of the gate losing, and he couldn't see it. You know what I mean? Like, why do you think he couldn't see that? Like, it was so evident for me that he was starting to, like, be fucked in the game, and I don't understand why he couldn't see it.
Ooh, what are you talking about?
Lash.
Oh.
I think it's because he's so self-centered. He's so self-centered and so selfish.
Because beyond himself.
And he couldn't see beyond because he had privilege, right? So he's coming from the aristocracy. He's coming from money, the golden child son in the family, because he was better than his cousin.
God, right?
You know, and then he finds out my actual daddy is a god, you know, like, and then he gets all these like extra powers. So he just thinks he is
the shit.
Nick. Like, no better than him, right? So I think that's why he couldn't see when things spiraled out of control. He couldn't see where things were going wrong, because he couldn't see his faults. He couldn't see that it was him. But he did have a moment of self-reflection, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
When he said, you know, I think back to what I did to John from day one. I terrorized him. I made him, he felt like the outsider, and I pinpointed that he was an outsider. Like, he kind of, not that I loved it.
Don't bad.
But I like that she gave him a little bit of humanity.
A retrospect.
That's a better word for it. The retrospect is a better word for it.
It was more vulnerable because he got kicked to the curb. You know, and so let's talk about that. I mean, that was the thing that happened, was that he went to Daddy O and he said, hey, I need to feed my entire side. And the Omega was so offended that, he kicked him to the curb, his own son. And it's like, why, after all this trouble he spent to go back in time and plant this, baby to have Havers or whoever how found him, and then, he was adopted or whatever, and then he just is like, well, I don't like that you still care about your vampire side. So fuck you. Right. I'm going to go with this little twist, like the little shit that, I'm out. But, like, I'm going to, he's my boy toy now, and I don't give a shit about you anymore. So it seemed like such a, just because he said one thing, it's like, oh, nope, not my son anymore. Like, I don't give a fuck about it. It's weird.
I kind of find it interesting that he was losing himself, literally pieces of himself, from the beginning. Like, when he got that sore on his wrist, he thought he was fighting and never healed. It was fucked. Like, I was like, what is happening? And even though he was like seeing these sores on himself, lesions, he was like, it's all right. Let me go get a change of clothes. And it was like he was so jaded and deluded, he couldn't even see that he was actually coming apart at the seams.
Well, and it's so plastic fantastic.
Yeah, right? Plastic fantastic. That's one of my favorite lines, by the way. Every time I hear it, I'm like, plastic fantastic. It's a couple people that say that in these books, but I don't know. I started to enjoy watching him. I don't know what this says about me. I started to enjoy watching him
deteriorate.
Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed him carrying his own shit. I really like that the hooker was getting the best of him, until she wasn't. What was your favorite moment for Lash getting his comeuppance? And do you think he got everything he deserved? Like, what else could have happened to him?
I feel like he got a taste of his own medicine. He became an
Right.
outcast, and he used to make fun of outcasts like John and Quinn and Blade because Blade was gay or sensed it at least, even though he had come out. But he knew something was going on with the two of them, with Blade and Quinn. And he always had dogging and servants to usher him around. He always lived in the lap of luxury, and every motherfucking thing was taken from him. Really
Everything.
think about it. Everything. I mean,
that was amazing too.
Yeah. So it's an accumulation of things, and then him having kind of a reflection. Now, I mean, it was a short-lived reflection, self-reflection, but still, at least he had
That
some
moment.
thoughts. He's not completely benevolent. That's the right word. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious as like if he's ever going to come back in the series.
I pray every book.
I don't like him, but
don't bring this fucker back.
No, please don't.
Please don't bring this fucker back.
Please, if you're listening, J.R. Ward, don't. We don't want him back.
I'm pretty sure she don't listen to this. She probably like, this is so far back. I can't be talking to these chicks.
I don't think that he's gonna come back with this like powers with his father though, because I think he's got because he's only half that. So
I don't know. Like I don't know. It's like he's so, but there was things about him that were like not like his father, right? So when he was losing all that skin and ickiness,
his face peeled off. His face peeled off. Who does cocaine through like your empty nostril?
No, ew. The worst was when he was like, he saw Hex and he's like, oh, I think I feel an erection.
Oh, he was like, something hard in there. I'm like, that ain't what you think it is.
It was so gross.
He was so high, he thought he still had his penis.
But like, I think when you asked, did he get everything that he deserved? Yeah, he got everything he deserved, but I feel like he needed more. So there was, I guess I didn't want him to have the satisfaction that he had in the end before he got shot by Tor.
Yeah,
like I didn't want him to be able to say those nasty things that he was able to say. I didn't want him to have that chance. Like I wanted, like, could they have like put a muzzle in his mouth? Like could that bullet gone in his mouth instead of his? Like I just didn't want him to be able to talk. He was just,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the ability, or the fact that he was able to hold her again. When he got behind her, I didn't want him to have that kind of power. I don't think he should have had even that much. Like that was too much for him.
I'm gonna tell you though, I know that it was hard to watch him like get her in his grips again because he didn't deserve that. But I kind of like that Tor once again saved a family member of Hex's side and was able to do that, bring to completion that kind of fight with Darius and her mom, and then finally with Hex and John. I think that was symbolic and it was so powerful, and I think it just solidified John and his relationship just that much more, because that was a dead ass shot. And I appreciated watching that because only a few fighters have those capabilities. And it was Tor and Darius. They're like the baddest ass fighters. They just are, right? So it was cool to see that. I really enjoyed that. And I
love that whole part. I just wish that he didn't get the chance to hold her. And I guess now that you say that, I get why he had to in order to have that call happen. But I just didn't want him to have that. I know, girl. We wanted to beat his ass. I wanted to beat his ass too. I feel you. It was a lot. So I actually have two more questions. What the fuck did Hex do with that bullet that they pulled out of John?
Oh, yeah.
She put it in her pocket. Like, what happened to it? Did I sleep that? I think I slept it.
I don't think we ever found out.
They never mentioned it. No, they never mentioned it. It'd be cool if she ends up doing something with it later, though.
Like if she had it like on a bracelet or, something. I don't know. Okay. Well, I thought I just missed it because, I listened to my audiobooks on like 10,000. So, it goes back.
Yeah, it was just weird. She was just like looking at the stuff, and Jane was cleaning stuff, and she's like, she sees the bullet in the tray, and she just goes, "Oh,
I get that. That's my boo."
Maybe because it was John, and maybe it was like that. That's her boo. I don't know.
Well, I definitely think she was using certain things to like fuel her, love of him, and I think that was just one other way for her to have a part of him or something that was in him.
Oh, and maybe she.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because she was leaving. I'm sorry.
It was what?
So maybe she thinks it was a lucky charm, and maybe she just always carries it with her. No.
I don't know, or maybe she took it then. I was thinking because at the time she wasn't planning on staying, right? At the time she still was going to end up on her own. So maybe she was keeping it like a memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
I think she decided she was going to stay by then. She just hadn't admitted it to herself, and so maybe subconscious was like, "Oh, I want that." She didn't know why. She just wanted it.
Was he going to be able to let her go? Like they made that deal?
Oh hell no! He bonded to her.
I'm like, why y'all even saying this? Y'all fucking with me. I was so mad at both of them.
I think that was his way of getting her to agree to like work with him. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I think he was kind of like making deals with her.
He was bluffing.
Yeah, he didn't mean it. He wasn't gonna let her go.
That's the same thing with not to bring up Quinn again, but like how there was a part where, we know at this point that Quinn is bonded to Blay, and then he's just like, and Quinn, and they had a scene where, Blay was just like, "Leave me alone." And, and Quinn's reaction, in his head was like, "I'm never leaving him alone." I can't do it.
Ever. Quinn is very honest with his shit, though. Like, in his head, he's very honest with himself. I do appreciate that because sometimes the brothers aren't very honest with themselves in their head. Like, Wrath was like, "Yeah, I don't even want this dog." And it's like, you like rubbing and stroking on this dog. You love this dog. You know what I mean? Like, I think I do appreciate that about Quinn. We got to go away with some redeeming quality for Quinn. And he's loyal. He is loyal.
Yes, he is loyal.
I don't begrudge him. I'm mad at him for what he's doing, but he's in denial. But all in all, I like Quinn.
Mm-hmm. I really do. Yeah, it's just certain things that he does that irritate me.
Oh, so irritating. A lot of things.
So irritating.
Irritates us.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be fine. It's all going to be fine. So I have two more things. Can we talk about two side characters really quick? Lassiter. I love him. Adore him. And poor guy, they made him watch Godzilla.
I wanted to watch Maury.
They didn't let him watch Maury.
They should have let him watch Maury. And then so we love Lass. But what about Trez? Is he getting hotter by the second? Like what? The temperature. What the fuck?
I am. I really love that whole silent, strong.
I feel like Trez is hotter though.
I don't know. I think I am is more stable. I think he's like, more responsible than Trez is. So, sometimes we like the irresponsible one.
He doesn't like I am doesn't. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm all like, I'm a feminist. I want the irresponsible brother. Oh my God.
I feel like I am is just less. He doesn't let his emotions rule him as much as Trez does. So he can be.
Well,
yeah.
I do think Trez might be hotter. Maybe we should post who we think Trez and I am are. Who's our perfect Trez and I am? We can do that in the comments.
Oh,
yeah. I'm feeling it.
I like eyes flash green. Whatever they say, but
these yummy yummos. I could spend some time with that. If Rev is busy, because he did get mated on me.
I know. What the fuck?
What the fuck? We need like a brother that's just like single forever. Like we need one of those, you know, like
I
I
know
guess it
we
wouldn't be a
do
romance,
need
but
the Bachelor. We do need a Bachelor.
like somebody roaming around in the background and just coming. I guess it's Lassiter. Is it Lassiter? I don't want to sleep with Lass. He hot though. I mean, but I feel like we want to be friends.
I'm wondering
Sit
what
and cuddle with him
I
on
don't
the
know.
couch.
He needs a romanticist, so they got to hook up. But I just the next big book that's coming out. What's that called?
The next big one is the Jackal.
No.
Oh,
when
Lover
the Winter Finds You
Unveiled.
one.
No, the big books that she does once a year. The Lover one.
Lover Unveiled.
No.
Oh, the Sinner.
No, the next
we just
one
had.
that's not out yet.
I'm sorry.
Lover with Savage that she's introduced. Long Lost Brother.
Lover Unveiled is the name of the next big book with Savage.
Oh, it is.
What is happening? Trans got you fucked up, girl.
The title straight. Sorry.
Well, they're all Lover.
Right. They are Lover. Well, she went back to Lover because Lover at Last was the last Lover book, right? Yeah, so she went back to Lover, which I kind of don't mind. I like the
Who
Lover.
is this dude? Can't wait to read that book though.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it either. It's a few books that I can't wait to read. But the next book that we're reading is Lover Unleashed, and that is Pain and Manny. Yeah, so I personally am excited to read about Pain. I'm even more excited now that I have a greater appreciation for who she is as a person. So can't wait for that. But until then, like, subscribe, and share. Ask us all the questions that you want. We will respond to them. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube. And you can look for us on our own pages for Eliza Men, AJ Norris, and Sage Spellin. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's been fun. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.